Game PSP, PSP, PSP. Hello guys, my name is Eric Van Strange Sexual Fantasies, and welcome back to Corpse Party Book of Shadows. So we're about to start and embark on a new journey into chapter number 3 called Encounter. I wonder what kind of mysterious encounter is going to happen. Maybe there's going to be a lovely encounter where two lovers will have an encounter in the guise of heavenly host, and they will do the wicca wicca wicca. Who knows? Let's see. Encounter. Tenjin 5. Is that like a J-pop group or something? I don't know. Some people are gonna correct me like, Eric's dummy, it's blah blah blah, but whatever. I don't know, Satoshi. This doesn't look scary. This really wasn't my day. Oh, jeez. Just couldn't understand it. I'm a dumbass. I'm Satoshi. I knocked over my alarm clock this morning, and of course it stopped working. What did you do? How violent are you? Did you, like, it went off and you just punched it and was like, fuck life, I'm going back to bed, you don't remember? Or what? The very last pork sandwich sold out right before my eyes during lunch. Well, that's too bad. And I was roped into a favor when I happened upon my homeroom teacher, Mr. Yamazaki, long after the school day had ended. Well, you know what? Sucks to be you, but there's people with bigger problems than you are. First world problems, Satoshi. So now, like it or not, I was on my way to deliver some notes to Miss Yui, our homeroom TA, who is out sick with a cold. No, it's just not your day. And I'm so sad. Miss Yui's so cool. Too bad she had a cold. Why? Oh yeah, you had a shopping date, and to her that's actually a date. She actually loves you. Like, oh my god, we're having a date, it's so good, I wish she'd just touch me. No, don't. Tenjin 5番地23の11ここかこれが6番地33の77とかじゃなければだけど Sure, whatever that means. I stopped and compared the memo in my hand with the apartment building in front. Oh, I see, it's an address. That makes sense. Addresses are weird. In Korea, they're very different than addresses are back home in the Western countries, because every time someone's like, Eric, I want to send you something, like, here's my address, they're like, holy shit, what the fuck is that? Probably about 20 years old. Didn't seem very solid, nor was it particularly stylish or chic. It was a completely unremarkable structure in every way. It looks pretty plain, but it's not bad. I'm lucky. I live in a brand new area of Cheongju, the city I live in, and my place is relatively new. Probably built within the last, like, 5 years or something. I was really getting fed up with his handwriting, and from a teacher, no less. In any case, it seems certain the apartment was on the 2nd floor, so I trudged up the startlingly narrow, steep stairs. The metal staircase was thoroughly blotched with patches of rust. Why would someone live in such a rundown apartment building? Because they don't have money! That's why! Or they have to give their money to some family members in need and they gotta make some sacrifices, Satoshi. Not everyone lives a cushy life like you do. There is that too, but I don't really believe in that, because in Asia the teacher salaries are much higher than the teaching salaries back home in the West. So no, Satoshi, they aren't low. I felt a little sorry for her, but in a way this place kind of fit her personality. With that thought in mind, I turned my attention toward apartment 201. But then again, Yui is a new teacher, and the new teachers here don't make much. Like, I think I'm just a foreign ESL teacher, and I make more money than a lot of the new teachers at the school who, like, are fully trained to be homeroom teachers and stuff. But after a certain point, is their salary keeps on going up, where mine doesn't really go up anymore after a certain amount of time. And, you know, they work there for like 10 years, and they're making, like, some pretty banging cash if they work for the same school district. But they have to put in the time, right? So maybe, because she is a new teacher, it makes sense that she'd have a place like this. But usually in Asian families, people are supported by the families, and so they have pretty decent places, because families will give them more money. Whereas in the West, as soon as we're out of the house, a lot of the times we're on our own. Sometimes we're given money. Some families are different, but here in Korea and in Asia in general, families give their children a lot of money. to start them out. Anyways, the doorplate for the room nearest the stairs had a name I didn't recognize scribbled on it. Passing room 201, I continue down the narrow walkway toward the end. Wandering alone around an apartment building I'd never been to before made me feel kind of nervous. It wasn't like I was doing anything wrong, but my back still tensed up as I maneuvered around piled up strollers, plastic toys, and bundles of newspaper. And then finally I arrived at the last door. This was it. I breathed a sigh of relief. The doorplate for apartment 207 read, Shishida. For an adult's handwriting especially, the letters were rounded and overly cutesy. This was Miss Yui's place, alright? I leaned in to read something written in small script in the corner of the doorplate. Beware of cat. Oh, that's funny. You're funny. Teacher, you're so funny. See, the teacher's so cool. She's so cute. If I didn't have a girlfriend and I was living in this world, I would ask her on a date, probably. I like her spirit and determination, her love of her students. She's a bright soul, and she's cute, and she's funny. The teacher's mine. Seiko, as much as, you know, you're cool, and you're awesome, and you're my favorite character, you know, you're a high school student. Sorry, Miss Yui, she's mine. And Miss Yui's obviously more mature, and I like more mature girls, so sorry, Seiko. You're awesome, but you're a little crazy. So how exactly does one beware a house cat? Is it even possible for a house cat to be threatening? At any rate, I'd confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was Miss Yui's place, so my errand was nearing its end. You're right, it sure isn't, but hey, Satoshi, whatever. Get some responsibility. Sometimes doing a good deed like this and helping out is just nice. He'd said he was busy with meetings, though, and really needed one of his students to help him out. Well, great, there you go. There's your answer. And just, come on. But was it really okay to entrust a school student with confidential class notes? Maybe he expected you to read them. He's gonna pull them out and be like, haha, Satoshi, you stupid poopy head. That'd be funny. My mind kept drifting from one question to another, and I'd become acutely aware of the inherent value of in these notes I held in my bag. But tempting as it was, I just couldn't bring myself to look at them. Mr. Yamazaki put his faith in me, after all. And I was stronger than that. I couldn't let this get the best of me. At any rate, I was here. I should have just been able to drop off the notes and be on my way. Well, it looks like there's a little drop box there. Putting all my doubts and misgivings aside, I rang the doorbell. And then I waited and waited and waited some more, but there was no answer. But it looks like there's a little drop box. Just shove them in there. It did. Yui-sensei! I rang the bell again and also tried calling out. But there was still no response. Oh, don't tell me there's gonna be a weird awkward scene where he's gonna try to come in and then she's gonna be like naked coming out of the shower like, oh my god, Satoshi, oh shit. When we heard that Miss Yui was staying home sick today, we were all pretty disappointed. They all love her, the students love her so much. That's why part of me was actually a little happy that I was asked to run these over to her. I figured I'd be able to check in, see how she was doing, and let everyone at school know that she was feeling better. Yui-sensei! Yui-sensei! Yui-sensei. Sumimasen. She was probably sleeping or out at the doctor's or something, but what if she were hurt? I tried opening the mail slot and peeking in. I thought maybe I could get a glimpse of the room inside. Yui-sensei. It felt kind of wrong peeking into someone's house without their permission. But I was legitimately worried about Miss Yui's health, so my conscience was clear on this one. Oh! Oh god, oh god, see? My premonition's gonna happen. Beware of cat! Oh, Neko. That cat's so cute though, Neko. It's funny, Neko means like mine in Korean. Mine, Neko, it's mine. Neko, yeah, it's mine. Neko means cat. A well-groomed cat was facing the door and staring back at me. With its head tilted slightly to the side, it let out an adorable meow. I can let out an adorable meow. Do you want to hear? Meow. That was pretty good, huh? This must be the cat I was instructed to beware. That's because I've lived with cats my whole life. My whole cat, except for now in Korea. Korea's like the only time I haven't lived with cats. Which sucks. I want a cat. And since Miss Yui was always going on and on about her little buddy, I was pretty sure I remembered his name. Moret. Oh, Monet. That sounds more like it. Monet. Moret? Really? Oh, Monet. The T is silent. Monet. Miss Yui talked about her cat a lot in class, so pretty much the whole school had heard of him. I wonder what happens to the cat, because in the other Corpse Party game, the original, Miss Yui dies, but she gets disappeared from existence. So I wonder what happens to this cat. That's a sad story. She even had some tins of cat food hidden on a shelf in the classroom, probably because she'd bought too much and had no room for them in her apartment.
Monet. Sensei wa iru ka? Sensei ga iru n dattara satoshi dekite hoshii n da.
Satoshi, that's not gonna work.
Monet, tanomu yo. Yappari iru ka. Soria sou da yo na.
My shoulders sank. I felt defeated. What the hell was I doing? I closed the mail slot and stood back up.
Yowatta na. Yui sensei, dou shita n daro?
I know what you mean, man.
どっか外出中とか空いてたりしないかな
Lost in this speculation, I placed my hand on the doorknob. And oh, sorry, oh god, I really gotta... Sometimes when I'm making commentary, like, I lose track of what's going on. And I really shouldn't. I really should be focused, but he looked in the slot is what happened. I thought he actually went in. Sorry, silly me. And with a quick twist, I turned it and pushed on the door, opening it easily. So it is open anyways, though, and he's gonna come in. My bad. Jesus, how easily I get twisted and turned around. Sorry. Sometimes I get... Well, that means she's home. Sometimes I get excited about certain things, and I want to talk about them, and then... Okay, anyways. Let's just forget that ever happened. You're right, don't let Monet out.
お前のご主人様は不用心だな。
Well, Satoshi,
鍵もかけてないなんて。
you know, if I were him, wouldn't you just leave it at the entrance? Like, even though it's unlocked, just leave the slips that you have to leave there? Monet's whiskers twitched as I called out to him from the entranceway.
なんだその通りだにゃって。モネもやっぱりそう思うか。
Here I was talking to a cat. Was this what I'd become? Whatever! Talking to cats is awesome. I always used to talk to my cats and they'd meow meow back and be like, oh, that's cute, you're cute, meow. And then I'd say meow, and then my cat would say meow. And it was fun. I was feeling pretty uneasy. Not only had I peeped into someone's home, I'd walked in without a second thought. Moreover, this was where Miss Yui lived alone. In other words, a woman's apartment. Oh, a woman's apartment. Don't look at her bra. No matter how many times I reminded myself that I was here on an errand, I couldn't help feeling that I'd not only crossed a line, but leaped over it.
Yui sensei.
I tried calling her name one last time, but as expected, there was no answer. I was trying hard to avoid being too nosy, but my eyes inevitably began surveying the room. The apartment entrance led out immediately into the kitchen, and beyond that there was a sliding door to some other room. I could see light through the gaps. I strained my ears, but there was nothing to hear, no signs of life whatsoever. Miss Yui really must have been out. One more time I tried calling out to her one more time, just to put my concerns at ease. I felt like I'd seem even more suspicious if I stayed silent.
Yui sensei! Mochida desu!
Still nothing. Maybe she was asleep on the other side of that door. What the hell? Shaking my head furiously, I cast out that sudden impulse. That was a terrible idea, pure and simple. Entering the apartment unannounced was bad enough, but walking all the way in, opening that sliding door and peeking inside, that was just too much. Probably. Monet mewed, as if in agreement. Panicking, I once again surveyed my surroundings. I almost felt like there were eyes on me staring with disdain. But of course, nobody was there. Why was there a scary noise?
記憶を残していけばいいんじゃないか?
Good idea, Satoshi. I can't believe it just dawned on you to do that right now. Wondering why I didn't think of this sooner, I dug into my bag for some paper and a pen.
山崎先生から頼まれたのでって書いておけばいいんだよな。
And you should probably say these are important documents, blah, 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 because this.
俺のノートでいいや。ゆい先生。
Crouching in the doorway, I ran my pen across the page. I brought class notes at Mr. Yamazaki's behest. Everyone has been worried about you. Sorry about barging into your apartment.
あと、不用心だから。
Are you actually going to write that?
鍵はかけた方がいいと思います。
As I was writing the note, I sensed a presence in front of me. Until just a moment ago, this house had no signs of human life in it, but now I could feel someone standing directly ahead. It's obviously Yui, and there's gonna be some weird, awkward scene. She's gonna have a towel wrapped around her or something, standing and looking down at me. Fidgeting nervously, I put down my pen 15, raised my head slowly, and saw a white, slender ankle. Oh my god, she's naked! Shocked. Oh no, she's not. She's just in her sleeping clothes. Shocked, I shot my head up, and there, standing before me, was Miss Yui. Oh, she's really sick. God, she's got a nice pair of sleeping clothes. What were you thinking? She's a zombie. She's gonna bite you, Satoshi. This is gonna be Corpse Party the zombie game. She was looking right at me, but she seemed decidedly out of sorts. Her hair looked disheveled, her gaze was unsteady, and her pajamas were in complete disarray. She was like a completely different person from the usual Kempt educator we'd come to know and love. She has no idea what's going on. She's so out of it. She's like, oh, what? I stood up frantically and held out the note I'd been writing. But Miss Yui was just standing there, stupefied with a completely vacant expression on her face.
Sensei.
She needs medicine, Satoshi. I called out to her as gently as I could. But she was really dazed. She seemed almost like a ghost.
Sensei, どうしちゃったんだよ?
I had a sudden uneasy feeling. Worried, I walked up to Miss Yui, grabbed her shoulders, and tried to snap her out of it by shaking her. But instead... Oh, get ready for awkward scene where she falls on top of him. This just seemed to make her cough. Never mind. She's... That is some coughing that's going on right in my ear.
Sensei!
These were wet, productive coughs, and spit was shooting out of Miss Yui's mouth with each one. That is sexy. I frantically tried to shield my face from the spray, but my reaction time just wasn't quick. I put a hand to her cheek and found it thick with a slimy film of saliva. What? She's still not aware of the fact that she's just standing there. You know what? This makes sense, though, because usually teachers... Well, in Asia in general, people don't take sick days. Very hardworking countries. And, like, this year I've been sick twice, and I haven't taken any time off. Because even if you have, like, a pretty bad cold, they don't take time off. Like, I almost lost my voice last week, and yet I was still working. And if I would have taken time off, they'd be like, oh, what a slacker he is, right? So, yeah, it makes sense that the only time I've seen a teacher take a day off is when they completely lost their voice. They just couldn't do anything. They were like a pile of shit, and that's it. Miss Yui hobbled back a little, then fell to her knees with a thud. So in this situation, it makes sense. She's, like, so sick she can't even, like, leave the home, right? She had completely sprawled out in the hallway, moaning and groaning the whole time.
Sensei.
Satoshi, get her some hot water. Get her something. Wiping the spatterings from my own face, I leaned over and took a better look at hers. It was bright red. Strained breathing, a stuffy nose, and a visibly high fever on top of it all. She was sick as could be.
寒いの？でも汗かいてるよ。
寒い。
I thought maybe her sweat had cooled her down, but then I realized her disheveled pajamas certainly weren't doing her any favors. With heart pounding, a smile a minute, and face red as a traffic light, I set about buttoning her up. Really?
ゆい先生、俺のことわかる？持田だよ。寒いならちゃんと布団で寝ないと。でないと治るもんも治らないって。
You know what? If I was Satoshi, I'd make her a nice lemon tea. There's like this special little citron lemon tea you can make. Make a little bit of that. Make some soup. That'd be nice. She absentmindedly extended her shaking arms like a zombie, slowly reopened her eyes, and looked up at me. It was the gaze of a severely fevered mind.
ゆい先生、
What? Maybe that's the name of her boyfriend. I knew there was going to be an awkward moment. Yes! I was waiting for it. Satoshi's probably got the biggest boner right now. Miss Yui was clinging to me tightly. I couldn't move. I was frozen in shock. She began to weep.
Tsukasa? 先生待って、人違いだよ。
It seemed like I wasn't getting through to her at all. And the sensation of her chest as she held me was making it virtually impossible to fight her grip. I was utterly powerless against this opponent. I would be too. I gotcha. I never realized before just how soft a woman's chest really was. God, am I that weak-willed? I had to remind myself that Miss Yui had me confused with someone else. Mustering all the strength I could, I gripped her arms and tried to pry them off me. Oh, Satoshi. I would have just sat there and been like, oh, no, I wouldn't have. I take that back. No. I would have made her soup. Yes. But she was a lot stronger than I anticipated and wouldn't let me get away. You know what? I know people getting sick, but this is pretty crazy. She's like, I mean, to be tripping out like this, she's got to be really sick. Like, really sick. As she squeezed me tightly, I felt as though my upper body might collapse under the pressure of her softest parts. I was blushing uncontrollably. I struggled to wiggle free, but Miss Yui only grabbed me tighter. Our bodies were getting more and more intertwined. And every time I squirmed, Miss Yui would just pull me in even closer. As her chest rose and fell erratically, droplets of sweat slid down into her cleavage. I could feel the heat of her fever radiating off her steadily encroaching face, as well as the shoulders I'd grabbed in an effort to push away. Okay, enough of this scene. It's dragging out pretty long. Questions were swirling around in my head. Why was Miss Yui crying, and who was this Tsukasa person? But I was most concerned for the state of her pajamas, which had become even more disheveled during our struggle.
Sensei, pajama, zubon! Zuri ochiteru kara!
I just say let it happen. Oh, I didn't even look. Wow, yep, they're sliding down, alright. Look over to the right, guys. Behind that little text. I think you can turn the text bubble off or something. I forget what button I gotta press, though. Shit. Ah, I forget. Whatever. I don't want to accidentally press the skip button, though, because that would suck. Realizing that not a single word was getting through to her, I sighed resignedly. I'd taken care of Yuka any number of times when she caught a cold and drawn a fever, but I don't recall it ever getting this bad. Miss Yui was usually calm, collected, and rational. Who would have ever imagined that a fever could leave her so thoroughly discombobulated? The person who did this translation is crazy. Discombobulated. That is awesome. That's a great word. I'm so happy I got to read it. So happy. Yui, don't pull yourself together. Do it to me again. I put more strength into my resistance, and finally her arms relaxed just the tiniest bit. But her expression changed drastically.
やだ。
先生、俺は持田聡で司って人。
行かないで。やだ。
She's calling for you. Miss Yui was acting like a spoiled child. Slipping out of the shoes I'd still been wearing, I again drew close to her sprawled out form. You know what? She is still really young, though. She's like 23 or something. It's quite young. Younger than I am. It's 5 years my younger. I'm old. There was no way I could just leave her here like this.
後で気がついて怪しまないでくれよ。
Miss Yui let out a lethargic groan, perhaps in response to my quiet murmurings. At my wit's end, I grabbed hold of her and did my best to carry her into the back room. Gently wheeling her over to her unfurled futon, I then carefully laid her down, making sure I didn't drop her in the process. Then there was the matter of rebuttoning those pesky pajamas again. Pesky pajamas. I hesitantly pulled up her pajama bottoms and brushed away the stray hairs that were plastered to her brow with sweat. I'd done my best to avoid seeing anything I shouldn't, but I am a guy, so my heart was pounding the whole time. Miss Yui's pajamas were soaked through with sweat. She really might have been better off with a change of clothes altogether. But no, that would have been going way too far. Come on, you gotta do it for the sake of health, Satoshi.
タオルとか何か拭くものでもあれば。
Noticing a convenience store bag carelessly tossed to the floor, I glanced inside.
なんだ、冷却シート買ってきてあるじゃん。なんで使ってないんだか。
Because she's sick. She's deathly sick. I've been sick to the point where, like, just getting up seems like a really insurmountable task. So, you know, it happens.
先生、ヒヤッとするけど我慢してね。これでよしと。
I placed one of the compresses on her forehead and pulled the covers over her. Miss Yui appeared almost instantly relieved. She exhaled contentedly and her breathing became more relaxed. Finally, she was asleep. Even in sleep, Miss Yui seemed to be suffering.
モネ、なんだ、先生が心配か？
Monet's a cool cat. Of course he was.
だよな。俺もここまでひどいことになってるとは思わなかったよ。
Monet had coiled up on my legs without me noticing. I began absent-mindedly speaking to him. He mewed in response, and our conversation ended there, as my gaze was still fixed squarely on Miss Yui.
さて、どうしようか。俺、このまま帰っても大丈夫？
I don't know, probably not. She wasn't in any condition to respond, but...
ゆい先生。
Miss Yui's hand had slipped out from under the futon and was gently grasping my pant leg. Her grip was much weaker than before, but I knew I'd probably regret it if I went home now. Miss Yui just seemed really lonely.
仕方ないな。
Ah, Satoshi, okay. You know, sometimes I don't like you, but you're a good guy deep down. Without disturbing Miss Yui's hold on me, I took a seat beside her. Sometimes his train of thought is a little too, like, innocent, though, where I don't like that, where he's, like, kind of stupid. But, you know, he's got a good heart if he's going to stay here and try to take care of her, even though he's a high school boy that probably wants to do many other things with his time. For the time being, I figured I'd watch over her and make sure her condition didn't worsen. Occasionally, Miss Yui's breathing would become ragged and she'd furrow her brow. She's really sick then, holy crap. She was in a pretty bad way. Wasn't there anything else I could do? I glanced quietly down the hallway. I noticed when I carried Miss Yui here that the kitchen near the entrance was perfectly neat and tidy. There wasn't any indication it had been used that day at all. Probably not. Monet's gaze shifted suddenly. I followed it and saw pet bowls laid out in the corner of the room. One dish was filled to the brim with water and the other was piled high with dry cat food.
なるほど。モネはちゃんと食べてるんだな。熱出してあんな状態になってても お前のことはちゃんと考えてくれてるんだな。
Mm-hmm.
でもさ、ゆい先生、まずは自分の食事の心配をしようよ。
Of course, you got to take care of yourself first and then others second, because if you're in a bad way, if you're in bad condition, you can't take care of anyone else. That's a smart saying. I shook my head at the whole situation, then glanced down at Monet, who was tilting his head as if trying to understand me. I broke into a wry smile. When I'd pulled out the cold packs, I did notice some cheap convenience store food in the bag as well. I guess that was going to be your food for the day. Not exactly the best stuff to eat when you're sick. Well, rice and eggs. Eggs will give you energy, give you some long-lasting protein, but you need veggies too. Wow, you can do that, Satoshi. Of course. That's her way of saying yes. Her face was bright red, and her half-painted, half-contented noises provided me with no clear-cut answer to my questions. Monet's cries helped assuage my guilt over entering a woman's apartment and borrowing her kitchen. Not that I had any reason to feel guilty, I don't think anyway. I mean, circumstances were that they were. Still, I had this nagging sense that I should have somehow felt bad about what I was doing. That's okay, I'm sure she'll be okay. All she's saying is nah, bleh. One by one, I gently peeled off each of the fingers latched onto my pant leg. The expression on her face changed as I was doing so, from contented rest to mild annoyance, but there was nothing to indicate that she might wake up. As I stood up, Monet mewed happily and began tagging along at my heels. And Miss Yui, now resting by herself in the bedroom, let out a sudden sneeze. What? Book of Shadows Episode 3 Encounter. Okay, so I guess in the next scene, Yui's gonna be at school after she's been sick and Satoshi has taken care of her. But you know what? I don't know how long this chapter is. Might be a short chapter, might end soon, but I think this is the perfect time to end the episode because we saw the whole first scene. And might be a little bit shorter than the other eps, but I don't have much time to record right now, so oops. But I'll see you guys in the next video. I really hope you enjoyed. This chapter seems like it's a lot different than the other chapters because this will focus on Yui's daily life. So it'll kind of just give you some insight as to what Yui's daily life is like at the school and why the students love her, etc., etc. I'm not too sure if we'll see any of the inside of Heavenly Host, but I guess it is still kind of interesting to see what it's like here, even though it doesn't really push the story forward any. I guess Book of Shadows is mainly here to just fill in the gaps of the story, so that when I do get around to playing the next game, Blood Drive, things will make a whole lot more sense, some things that are told and some things that are talked about. So yes, I really hope that's the case anyways. Well guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. As always, peace.